congregation with us. Everybody do it. Let's go. We're gonna turn the world upside down. We're gonna turn these people right side up. We're gonna shout until we're 6 feet over. We're gonna demonstrate something unusual. Come on! Something unusual.
Vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Code Breakers Live. I hope you had a good day at church this Sunday. I see the chat. Let's go to the chat. Oh, no, wait. There we go. We're in the chat. Massachusetts, Virginia. Oh, my goodness. Rumble, you're just going off over there. Jackson, Mississippi, West Virginia, Ohio, Idaho, Michigan, Montana, Oklahoma, Denver. What is happening in Aurora, you guys? If you notice, if you see how my eye looks a little red, I heard it with my contact lens yesterday. I had to go with no contact lenses. I put it back in, but it's looking a little irritated. Don't worry, I'm okay. I just have an issue with my eye today, and I just looked at the camera and saw myself, and it does look a little red still. I had a rough day yesterday with my eye. Oh my goodness, Massachusetts, Scotland, Florida, New York, Illinois, more Ohio, more California, Canada, New York. Oh my goodness, welcome everybody. You know what? There's been so much going on with all these prophecies coming to pass that I wasn't even sure what to do today. Oh my goodness, there's the House of Destiny chat, Lexington, Kentucky, Franklin, Tennessee. Yay. Michigan. Oh my goodness. I know I keep kind of going back and forth. Sweden. Oh, I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming and joining me today here. It is just an honor that you guys come every week. And you know what I was doing this morning? Amanda Grace had called me and said, I was on your show last year and we talked about RFK Jr., which we did. And I keep telling you guys, we've been talking about RFK Jr. this whole time. And so I went and I could not find the broadcast she was talking about. And so I went through all the old live Code Breakers. And this was back when I was still doing this show from my house in the spare room. We had made a little set. And if those of you who were watching back then remember, we used to do it on Wi-Fi, and I would go in and out all the time, and it was so rough. And because it was just something I just decided to just hop on and do. I actually started doing it on Fridays and moved to Sundays. And I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna get up and talk to people, because after Roe versus Wade and the Supreme Court and all that happened, I had posted a video and it just got a lot of views. And I thought, you know what, there's so much I have to say. Hi, Strumming. There's just so much I have to say about these things. And I didn't think anybody wanted to hear, and they did. And so I just started doing the show from my house, because it was just like, oh, I'll just go live and chat to people. And it just grew and grew and grew. And you guys, we have developed such a great relationship through all this. We really are the remnant that my dad prophesied. And so I've been kind of reflecting on that with the show because, of course, as more and more people started watching, and I needed to be able to play prophecies easily for you and go through news and this kind of thing. Um, I realized, oh no, I have to have a proper place to do this. So we already have a studio here, and so I made a little place here in the studio for this show, so I could just come on every week, and it's just been such a blessing to me. I know a lot of you write in and tell me that it's a blessing to you, but it's also a blessing to me to be able to have this time with you every week. So thank you for coming and joining me today. I wanted to play for you the clip of Amanda and I that I found, but I'm going to have Lou load it up. So before we go there, I think what I'll do is go over to my Twitter page, and let me see if I can drive the ship on my own. Can I, Lou? Oh, he did it for me. This is why we have Lou. And you guys should know, Lou and I are cousins, and we were little kids together, and it's really fun to be able to do this with him because he knew my dad. That's the thing about Lou is the chosen person because my dad was his uncle, and so we grew up around. He also grew up in church. His grandparents pastored a church in South Africa that was the first church under apartheid to defy the law and say everybody of every race can come to church together because it was segregated in South Africa then. And they said, nope, everybody's coming to church. And so they had to deal with a lot because of that. But Lou comes from that side of the family. And so to have him here helping me is more, he's not just some person we hired. This is a person who knew my dad very well, my dad was his uncle, and has seen what I've seen as far as prophetically what can happen, what God can do through a human being, through an obedient person and a bold person who my dad was. So anyway, let's have a look here. If you missed Prophetic Rewind, please do go and watch this. Now, the thing about this broadcast that we put up on Prophetic Rewind is we do not have it on video because a lot of these older meetings that we have recordings of, we don't always have video. Sometimes we do, and that would depend on where he was. So if he was with God TV or TBN, or if he was at a church that was equipped to film, then they would film him. But they always would do audio recordings of his meetings because of his prophecies. And so in this particular Prophetic Rewind, there is not video, it's only audio. But it's so important because of, he prophesied about the Kennedys there, but he prophesied about so much else. So do go, if you haven't already watched this, and have a look at it, because we're going to put another one up tomorrow for Prophetic Rewind tomorrow, and we're going to keep going on that vein. But some of them may not have actual video, and I thank you for your patience with that because I know it can keep. But I mean, a lot of you just listen anyway, and so you can just turn it on and listen and hear what he was saying, and what he was prophesying about. I'm just going back to the comments again quickly. I just thought, you know what, today there's so much. I just thought I'll just talk to you guys and see what's on your minds and what's on your hearts in regard to some of these prophecies, because I'm getting a lot of emails and a lot of comments. And so let's just, chat about it here today. So I'll go back to my Twitter page, but anybody with comments, if you have questions, if there's something you're worried about, if you think, Donna, you're not seeing this, or maybe you should look at that, or whatever it is, just go ahead and put it in the comments, and I will try to keep up because they're going. I see someone there saying we are one, and you know what? That is the theme, is the unity needed in this time, and that's what I'm going to show you in that clip of Amanda and I. Actually, Lou, I'm going to send you. I had actually cut it shorter, and if you can't find it, let me send it to you. I was texting with Amanda Grace today. They have got a new family member, a new pig, Poppy, but I'm going to let her show you the pictures of them. But I'm going to take this little file that I created this morning and send it over to Lou. so he can load it up, because I want you to see what Amanda Grace and I were talking about in regards to RFK Jr. And this was in June of 2023. It is pretty amazing, the conversation we had. And so, anyway, let's go back over here. So we see what has been happening with Elon Musk. Oh my goodness gracious. And Brazil, and the censorship that has been happening globally. And this goes back to the globalist agenda that we've been looking at, the Fourth Reich that Dad prophesied about, which we're now beginning to understand that the Fourth Reich has a lot to do and is connected to the world wars and what happened during the world wars, and things that were not dealt with in regards to, for instance, the Nazis that were sort of in the... Oh, he's got it ready. You have it ready. Okay. So do you want to put that up first? And then, okay, he's putting it up. Yeah, go ahead and put that up. Let's watch what Amanda and I were talking about with RFK Jr. because I knew because of my dad's prophecies and also what I was picking up on my own, and then Amanda also did. And so I'm waiting to see if he can pull that up. Is there something I need to do, Lou? Yes, to Esther. I see you saying that. Now, listen, if you guys didn't watch yesterday at the House of Destiny Network, Codebreakers Analysis, Christy and I did an in-depth look at the Esther prophecy again. And I know we keep doing the sort of going back to that Esther prophecy, but there's so much in there, just so much in there that's more than just about the Esther, because he's talking about the president who will come, who we can recognize as being Trump, very obviously, and other things that would happen, agreements between nations, particularly China, things like that. So if you haven't watched that yet, I encourage you to do so. And you can watch that at houseofdestiny.tv, I believe is the link. Either way, if you go to kimclement.com, you will find it. Lou just needs a moment on that video, so it's okay. We can chat until then. Hank Kunneman. I saw Hank Kunneman talking about my dad, and I know he's always admired my dad, and I really like Hank Kunneman. He's great, and he was on there with Lance Wallnau, and they were talking about the I forget whose show he was on, but he was on with Lance, and they were talking, and Hank actually said to Lance, you know this. Since you were there, and Lance was talking about how he had said to my dad at the time, "You're going to be like Nostradamus. People are going to be talking about your prophecies long after you're gone." And of course, we didn't know my dad would be gone so soon, but it is true. That is what is happening. Okay, I'm seeing what people are saying about the terrorists taking over apartments. Okay, so in I think it's Aurora, Colorado, there are gangs, Venezuelan gangs in particular. Now, you've heard Trump talking about how these countries are letting their criminals out of prison and things like that, and then allowing them to be the ones and sending them over to cross through our open border, which is the problem. And you see on the left, they'll say, "Oh, you don't care about immigrants, and we're a country of immigrants." And that is not what this is about. I'm an immigrant. How many actual immigrants who immigrated here legally and did it the right way because they respect this country? That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about having it's like opening the front door of your house and just saying, "Anybody come in? I got kids here, but don't worry." It's that idea that people are against. They're not against immigrants. Nobody's being prejudiced in any way against a group of people, because there's so many different groups of people that are coming through the border now. It's not about that. It's about, do we know who they are? Do you know who you've let into the front door of your house? That's all it is. Because if it's if they're emptying their prisons in countries like Venezuela, which I'm sure they're happy to do, that's going to be a problem here when they cross into our border, which we're now beginning to see the manifestation of that. In Colorado, Venezuelan gangs have taken over whole apartment complexes, and the cops can't do anything about it. Aurora is, thank you to Rolf K. Aurora is a suburb of Denver, and I did actually know that. We spent a lot of time in Denver when I was young. But yes, it is beginning to manifest in the streets, in the cities, in the country. That the gangs, and of course, think about it. It's the same argument as, oh well, we should get rid of all of the guns so there's no more gun violence. Well, here's the problem: your legal citizens are going to obey that law, and they're going to hand in their guns, and they're going to be disarmed. But criminals are not going to do that, and then they are going to acquire weapons, and then the only people who have weapons are criminals, and then the citizens have no way of defending themselves. So it seems to me it's like easy. Like, why shouldn't we be able to defend ourselves? And gun violence is just a gun is a weapon. I mean, look at what's happening in England with all the knife attacks. What are they going to ban the knives now? Or perhaps we should go to what is the core issue and try to deal with the core issue instead of these sort of light, and it's all politicized too. And then obviously they'd love to disarm America. The enemies of America would love it if we were disarmed, because then we're easy to attack, just like what happened in Venezuela. Venezuela is the way it is right now, with gangs who are armed. I mean, if you saw with the election thing that happened there not long ago, where we know Maduro didn't win, but there were gangs with guns. We were looking at the pictures of them, and they were actually against Maduro, but they were standing there with weapons. So to disarm the nation, I believe, would be very, very foolish. And of course, anybody with ill intent who might want to take over the country, that's exactly what they need to happen. Because what deters, for instance, North Korea from parachuting in is that they know that Americans are armed and will shoot them out of the sky. So, and we can defend ourselves, because why? Because America is of the people, by the people, for the people. It's ours. It doesn't belong to a king. The president is there for 4 years, maybe 8 years, and then we replace him. This is a good system, because that way, we can maintain that, and that the control is the people's. And so that's why the voting is so important. That's why it's so important our voice be heard. That's why freedom of speech is so important, even if we don't like it, especially if we don't like it, because we need to know what are people saying? What do they think? If you silence someone because you don't like what they're saying, you say, well, no one must ever hear them again. Well, they're not going to be quiet. It's just we're not going to know what they're saying. And then, that's how things rot underneath in a basement somewhere, and everybody's making plans, and then we don't know what's going on, and then surprise attack. So freedom of speech is important for our safety. We are supposed to be able to defend ourselves. If you think about freedom, because there's a lot of talk about freedom. And if you think about freedom, who gave us the most freedom? God did. Complete freedom. I mean, we can choose whatever we want. There are consequences for those choices. There is a consequence for every single choice you make, be it good or bad. So, like Dee, you're saying we're all God's children. Yes, and he gave us complete free will. Nothing is stopping. He's not stopping me from talking. He's not stopping me from moving anywhere. He's not stopping me from committing a murder. Now, of course, I would never. Couldn't even kill a mouse. But the point is, he gave us the 10 commandments that say, thou shalt not. And those are all for us. That's all for us. And so America being founded on that principle, on that idea that it is under God. In God we trust. We are free because God gave us that freedom. God gives us our rights, not the government. Now, when you move into a country, or you live in a country, there are, things that that everybody has agreed upon, in America in particular, everybody has agreed upon these are the things that we will tolerate and these are the things that we will not tolerate. And it is based on a Judeo-Christian foundation. So there you have the 10 Commandments. And so I don't know why it's politicized, which is why it's been made into an argument. It's such an obvious thing to me, and I know I can see you guys are amen, amen. We should defend ourselves. Yes, he did. That's right. You're saying these things because you know West Virginia Mountain Mama High, freedom and liberty comes from the Lord. It comes from God. And so when I see the way that politicians word things and act and behave and lawmakers and things like that, I'm always reminded of that, you know? And so it's very, very interesting. I'm reading your comments here again. I'm sounding like a true Tennessean. I haven't lived here that long, but I do love living here, and I'm very glad I do. Dinar prophecy. Now, you guys, I have actually not looked at the Dinar stuff in a while, and there is a guest I think I should bring on who would be great to talk about this. Some of you know her, Dina McClure. She did a lot of work with my dad and my mom over the years, and I think I'm going to have Dina come on. I'm just reading Lou's sending me a message here. He's in the other room. Okay. And I'm thinking about bringing her on to talk about the Dinar stuff because she really knows a lot about it and has studied those prophecies a lot. And she is such a prophetic lady. Oh, my goodness gracious. Just so anointed. And so I'm going to get in touch with her and see if she'll come on and talk to us about the Dinar stuff because she has followed it for years. And Hank Flashpoint. What is Flashpoint? I keep seeing you guys talking about Flashpoint. I don't know what that is. Hank Kuhneman and Flashpoint. I don't actually watch him enough. I have a hard time keeping up with watching all the people, so I'll watch little things. But I am interested to see because a lot of you are bringing it up. Oh, and I like Hank. Let's go back to Twitter here. I'm going to open my Twitter page up while you're pulling that up. Hang on, let me see what you guys are saying. Flashpoint. What am I missing? I don't know what I'm missing about the Flashpoint thing. You're all talking about it, but I don't know what it is. Delora O'Brien as well. I actually spoke at Delora's gathering last year in 2023. I was there. Love Delora O'Brien. I do love her. My dad loved her too. She was really great. Oh, here we go. Here's something we can have a look at. I wanted to show you guys. This is Reagan. Now, you remember what my dad prophesied? That he saw another kind of Ronald Reagan being needed during this time. So let's have a look at what I put earlier today.
With government control. And in the recent days, we've heard representatives in the higher echelons of government ask us, well, are you afraid of your own government? Well, to tell you the truth, I am. And all of us should be. And I speak not in a partisan sense of an administration or individuals. I'm talking of the institution of government. Wasn't this the admonition of the Founding Fathers that government tends to grow, to take on power until freedom eventually is lost? The fact is, and we can't escape it, only government is capable of tyranny.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? I think I might actually have what my dad said about that in here. Let me look quickly and see what I have here. Don't we have it, Lou? It was here from 2013. Oh, wait, I'm not seeing it. Well, there is a video clip of Dad, and he was in China. Some of you have already seen it. And he was talking about this. He was saying, I'm seeing the need for another kind of Ronald Reagan to take care of this. And I think he said that more than once, but he said he was seeing another kind of Ronald Reagan type. And that's what we are seeing with Trump. He's different from Ronald Reagan, but it's the same it's the same message that's coming through. That the corruption, and it's a bipartisan thing, and we've seen that now that we have RFK Jr. Suspending his campaign, endorsing Trump. We know he will be part of the administration in some way. And that's actually what I wanted to show you today of me and Amanda. I think it's ready. Is it ready, Lou? It might be ready. Let's see. I sprung this on him at the last minute. I was doing it right before I came. I was actually late because I was doing this. But Amanda Grace had asked me to I'm hearing thunder outside. Oh, exciting. Amanda Grace had asked me to find that because she remembered us talking about it. And I could not find it. I finally found it this morning. I was texting her. I was like, I found it, Amanda. I found it. Because I think she was wanting to share it earlier this week, but she'll share it now as well. Lance is associated with Flashpoint. Yes, Leland, the mantle of Ronald Reagan. That's exactly how my dad put it. Christian platform. Flashpoint was also a car that was originally made by Fiat. Oh, that's interesting. Pretoria, South Africa. Hi, Simone. Sorry, I know that was random. I'm reading your comments now. It was George Washington that said we need to arm ourselves against our own government if need be, and it's beginning to look like that right now with the FBI. Okay, so here's the thing. My dad kept prophesying about exposures in the intelligence agencies, and here's what's interesting. My dad worked with the FBI during the Bush presidency, W. Bush, because of the 9/11 prophecy, because he prophesied 9/11 in 1996. I was there when he prophesied it. He was in Dearborn, Michigan, which that's so prophetic in itself. Remember, I always tell you the location and the date. So he's in Dearborn, Michigan, and he was doing a thing called the Gathering of the Dangerous, GOD, and it was like a week-long event, and he had it at a Hyatt Regency. Now, we know we've seen the Hyatt Regency prophecies recently. 1996, he prophesies about because there had been a terrorist attack at the time, and he said there's been a terrorist attack, there's going to be another one, and he prophesied about the planes flying over Long Island and the retaliation not being of God's spirit. That's very interesting. And so under Bush, when 9/11 happened, the FBI, I guess they knew about the prophecy. It was a buzz. People were abuzz about the fact that Dad prophesied it. The FBI actually showed up at my parents' house and searched the house and did like a whole check on my dad. Like, how did you know? And at the end of it, they realized he truly was a prophet and had genuinely seen this. And so they asked him to help with. Now, I keep calling it Stargate because I think that's what I remember him calling it, and my mom too. We think that's what he called it. But I'm not sure because when I look into Project Stargate, that's a CIA thing. And he never said anything about, but maybe he didn't know because they didn't tell him a lot either. They would call him and ask him questions and he would answer them, and he wasn't allowed to tell us what. And he had like an encrypted email address. And so maybe it was like a CIA thing and he just didn't know. And for those of you who would say, well, he's a prophet, he should have. Just because someone is a prophet does not mean they know everything. My dad was not God. He was not all-knowing and omnipotent. That's God. My dad prophesied what God showed him, so what God was allowing him to see. So if he didn't know, or maybe he figured it out, but he couldn't tell us because he wasn't allowed to tell us anything, it's all a blur for us, because for Mom and I and those of us left behind, because he respected the fact that it was classified thing. Yeah, someone's saying it was a CIA thing, and it very well could have been. And they were using people who were, for instance, psychic or clairvoyant or whatever to remotely see and help, in whatever way they could help. And so he was, number one, he was very honored to be able to serve America in any way because he loved this country. We immigrated here. He was so proud to become an American when he did. He loved America. He loved America. So if they had asked him to help, he would definitely have been quite happy to do it, which he was. However, toward the end of it, and it was closed down and it all ended as soon as Obama became president. But toward the end of it, I know he was tired of it. He didn't want to do it anymore. He kept saying to them, "I'm done. I don't really want to do this anymore." And they would just ignore him and just keep sending him questions. So he just would, answer if he had an answer. But that's all I know. But I do find it's either that we have the wrong name in Stargate, like me and Mom are remembering the wrong name, or that he was involved in that and that it did not, because they say the Project Stargate ended in the 90s. But maybe it didn't. I don't know. It's very difficult because there was so little he could tell us about, but I can tell you that he didn't like it in the end. He liked that he could help. For instance, he helped find some lost children or kidnapped children, and he wasn't able to tell us. He wasn't able to tell us any details about that, except for that he did, like that he helped them find a child, or he helped them. He could say that, and that was it. And so I know he was really happy to be able to help in those kinds of ways. But I also know by the end of it, it had worn on him, and he did not like it anymore. So anyway, Lou, I'm going to go back to my Twitter page because I'm remembering actually there's other stuff I wanted to show you guys. But very interesting that coming from Reagan, and also that the Reagan movie is coming out now. And what is the actor's name? I can't remember his name. Glenn Beck just interviewed him, and he was talking about God in that interview. I have not watched the interview yet, but I know he's interviewed him. And apparently he did a great job playing Ronald Reagan. So I haven't seen the movie, but I'm dying to see it. Okay, so are we back? Let me just check here. I've got to go through screens here to make sure. Okay, we are back. All righty. So I'm sure you guys have seen the Arlington National Cemetery thing that's going on with Trump, with Kamala Harris and her accusations against Trump. Here's the thing about Kamala Harris. She can say whatever she wants. She sounds like an idiot because, first of all, she's a complete hypocrite. And also, they're like copying Trump policies. And it's so obvious. It's so ridiculous. How unoriginal. They have nothing. They have nothing except for she'd be the first woman president, which is what they tried with Hillary. And the thing about us is that we all would love for there to be a woman president if it's the right woman. You see, they keep, and this is the devil doing this, basing everything on external things that people didn't choose, like race or gender, things like that. And they try to use that when really we need to be looking at the human being. Is this the right person? Is this the person for us as Christians? The first thing we're going to say is, we're going to ask is this the person God chose? Number one for us. But also, is this person capable of leading this nation, this country, any country, but especially this one? And so that should be the top priority. All the personality stuff and whether or not someone's a woman or whether or not whatever their race is or religion or whatever, those are not reasons to choose a leader. Now, they may have to do with why, if it's relevant, but really we should be looking at who is going to be the person who is best equipped to handle the situation we're in right now. And what we're seeing across the globe is a banding together of people who are against the West, and they are trying to take it over. And they're trying to crash the dollar and the stock market and destroy the middle class. This is a globalist agenda. And so that always, we need to remember. But it was this post here where this mom, because of course this all had to do with Afghanistan and the disastrous way that they pulled out of Afghanistan and the loss of life. And what happened was Trump went and honored them, and Kamala and Biden were not there. So now they're trying to cover their tracks. And so just, I can't even handle it. Oh, Trump is so funny. Well, watch. This is very funny. This is only a very quick clip, but it is so hilarious. Trump makes
It's because you come under fire a lot. Our moms are standing for things that often the media attacks them on. We'd love to get some advice from you about running for office.
Yeah, so I would say don't do it.
No. Run for office. We want you to run for office.
I do say this, though. It is nastier to run as a Republican. It is. Now, I'm the ultimate, they suffer from a thing called TDS. Do you know what that is? TDS, it's a horrible, horrible terminal disease. It destroys the mind. It destroys the mind before the body, but the body eventually goes. TDS is Trump derangement syndrome.
It's because you come under.
And man, have we not seen that? And you know what? We understand that it's demonic. We understand that it's demonic. And I know. Dennis Quaid. Thank you, Christy. Yes. Dennis Quaid is playing Reagan, which I'm so excited to see. I'm seeing West Virginia Mountain Mama again. 14 years ago, VP Harris sounded articulate and intelligent, even though I never have agreed with her opinions. She gave that up for power. Exactly. So what we have is a lot of people that have been compromised. And so let me see. Your comments are going so fast, but I want to hear them. RFK Jr. Now, the witch in the White House thing, obviously we thought it was Hillary. And now we're looking at like, oh, they're going to do everything in their power to put a witch in the White House. Now, you guys know that my dad prophesied on February 22nd of 2014, they're going to do everything in their power to put a witch in the White House. And so he didn't say he said a witch. So I think, and a lot of you have said this to me, and now that you are saying that to me, I'm thinking it's both. They have done since 2015 everything in their power to put a witch in the White House. They did it at the 2016 election. And then, of course, we know what happened in 2020. And now they're trying again with Kamala. And so there's the spiritual element to this that we cannot forget. Judy saying Kamala is a witch. Now, I don't know as far as like, is she technically, I'm a witch? But it's definitely a spiritual thing. And I don't know. I maybe she is. I don't know. I just don't want to say that if I don't know, if I haven't seen something. But definitely he did say they're going to do everything in their power to put a witch in the White House. And, what we've seen them do is witchcraft. We're seeing Luciferian and satanic ceremonies in places that we shouldn't be seeing them. It's so ridiculous, especially anything to do with science. For all the years that we have had to deal with the atheists who their God is science, which that never made sense to me, because all science is doing is examining how things work. I don't understand why that would mean there's no God. And I think anybody with half a brain understands what I'm saying right there. It doesn't make any sense. And so that's how you know it's coming from the enemy. So science isn't bad. Science is great. Because when we go in and we look, we can see how intricate God's creation is and how does it work and how can we use it? And God's given it to us. Is it ready to go? Oh, okay, good. Okay, I have, are you going to play it? Yeah. Okay, he's going to play it. I'm going to let him push the button instead of me. And don't worry, I'm not saying she's not a witch. I'm just careful. I think that there's more to it than just one witch either. I think there's witchcraft. I think there's a whole thing going on. It's bigger than that. But yep, you're right, Laura Daddy G. Yep. Scientism. That's a good way of putting it. Scientism is the problem. Huh. I like that. That's the first time I've heard that, and that's a good way of putting it. Because I've had people in my own family who were atheists who didn't believe anything that we believed or what my dad did. I don't know how they explained it to themselves. But yeah, Linda's saying Trump would not be a praying man when he went to the household, but to the White House, but he would be filled with the Spirit. And yes, that is what my dad prophesied. He won't be a praying president when he starts. But what God does in him through this, and now that's not a direct quote, but that's essentially what he was saying in that prophecy. God would do something in his life that would put him into a position. And I think that's why God allowed for the 2020 election and everything that happened there in the Biden years. Is there was a time not only for Americans to need to be woken up, more Americans to see the truth, for it to touch them, but also for Trump to be touched, so that going into the next term, he would be not only better prepared as far as because of experience, but spiritually prepared. And God has definitely been taking care of that in these years in between. And not only has he seen what my dad prophesied about, but he's been surrounded by good men of God who have prayed for him. And it's thanks to Eric Trump also for being open, because Eric, and God showed me at the very beginning of all of this, I saw, this is now going back to 2016, I saw Eric Trump somewhere, and God showed him to me, and he showed him as if he was back to back with his dad, the two of them back to back. And God said, Eric needs to have his daddy's 6. And I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, have his 6? What does that mean? I thought, I must be wrong. It's my imagination. Stop. But it wouldn't leave me alone. And I said something to my husband about it. And he said, no, that's a military thing. When you have somebody 6, you have their back. So like, let's say like you're walking in and you're having to look front, left, right. You've got someone behind you who has their back to you, who's watching your back. So that's what God meant, I think, when he showed me that about Eric, is that Eric would have his daddy's 6. How interesting, in a military kind of way too. So that isn't all been revealed to me, but that's something that God showed me. And it is thanks to Eric that door was open very wide to Donald Trump, because Eric is so open to hearing the prophetic and to being around the Christian people. He came on the Reawaken. I mean, he's a huge part of the Reawaken America tour, and I know he has been touched greatly by that experience. And my dad prophesied that too, the Donald and the Clark. A man named Donald and a man named Clark, you're both watching me. I mean, that is amazing too. So anyway, let's play this video. Okay, so I have a video clip of me and Amanda on this show back when I still was doing it from my house in the little studio space I made in the spare room. And we're talking about RFK Jr. So Lou, play the video.
Question.
Oh, what is the question?
Amanda.
Oh, we want to know about, someone is asking about your dream about RFK Jr. Oh, I'm so glad. That's such a good question, because I've been going about RFK Jr. on about him for a while. My dad had prophesied something about the Kennedys. It wasn't quite fitting to me, but there's something about RFK. I don't think he's going to be president, but there's a place for him, I feel like. I hope. And I do really like that he's a Democrat speaking out. So anyway, what happened with the dream? You had a dream.
It was April 9th, 2022 that I had this dream, and it took place in Martha's Vineyard. And Carolyn Bessette Kennedy was there, and she looked like she might have looked a little older. She had hair to her shoulders. She was in the back of this crowd, and this crowd cleared, and they had this red, elaborate, and they called it a Christmas chair, and they were stirring about putting somebody in this seat, and the person was related to the Carolyn Bessette Kennedy in one way or another. And so this was the dream, and it was April 9th, 2022 that I had this dream. And we see that it was either the day before or the day after the indictment, the first indictment of Trump, he filed his papers to run for president. and then at the beginning of Passover declared his run for president, which I found interesting also. So this is, but that was the gist of the dream. She was there. It had something to do with her, what went down at Martha's Vineyard and what was trying to rise up out of Martha's Vineyard.
That's really interesting, Amanda.
Yeah. And that was April 9th, 2022.
April 9th is my husband's birthday.
Oh, I love your husband.
I know. I love him too. But that's actually, that's the first thing I thought. Is it's a lot of stuff happens on his birthday. He's got a memorable birthday for some reason. There's all kinds of things like the revival at Bonnie Bray happened on April 9th. A couple of things have happened April 9th, so that's interesting too. But yes, I actually watched Jim Brewer interview RFK Jr. last night before I went to bed. I watched that interview that he did with him, which was really good, and I could see Jim Brewer's so funny. I could see he was sort of trying to kind of nudge him in the direction of, look, you can't be president, but you could join our team.
Well,
welcome
wouldn't
you.
that be an interesting? Do you remember now? I don't know why this is coming to my mind now, but it was called The West Wing, this show that was on way back.
Yes, I remember.
Okay. Do you remember towards the show finale, you had a Republican presidential candidate join forces with a Democrat for president and vice president? It was something along those lines at the end of the entire series that occurred.
See, I think something like that. I think people want that because we don't want to be enemies. And what happens is, you see the other side and they see us, and we're so angry with each other, and we have been sort of blocked from even being able to. They don't want us talking. They don't want us to be friends. They have tried so hard to push civil war in this country, and it isn't happening because people don't want it. Americans don't want that. We're actually refusing. So I think like a Trump with like an RFK Jr., even though the far left is rejecting RFK Jr., the same sort of middle of the ground people are going to hear him.
Yes.
Because I've been paying attention to him for a few years as far as what he had to say about vaccines and vaccine injury. I was very interested. And so I would listen to him from time to time. But I never really felt anything more. I just was interesting. And it's, he's Bobby Kennedy's son and the Kennedys. So I'd listen to him. But there's something about, and this is going back to what my dad prophesied. He prophesied about an Irishman in the White House. And he said, what was meant to happen in the 60s that was stunted will begin again or happen again, and it'll start in the teens of the 2000s. And he said specifically 2015, 2016, which he said it would begin then. And he was seeing this Kennedy connection within the prophecy. He said, you'll say it's Kennedy reincarnated, but I laugh at your psychics. Now, that's an interesting thing he would say. I don't quite understand it all together, all the way. But, that part of the prophecy, but that will happen with time. It always does. Like, you just have to be patient. But there's something. And then a few months ago, before Robert Kennedy Jr. hit the headlines, I heard him say something and it just got me. And I was like, Robert Kennedy Jr., the CIA killed. It was that. He was talking about how the CIA killed his dad and all those classified papers came out. And there's something about God's vengeance. Because John F. Kennedy, JFK, like a week before he was assassinated, was butting heads a lot with the CIA. They tried to trick him into something that was going on in Cuba. They were going to try to take out Castro. He didn't want any part of it. And he kind of put his foot down. And within a week, they had assassinated him. And so there is sort of this feeling, I think, in the heart of Americans, because even though the classified information has only recently been released, how many decades now have people speculated on what really happened there? And it's been a huge, big part of Americans, because that was brutal. they shot him in the head in the middle of the street, in the middle of the road, like in the open for everyone to see. And that was, and I believe that ever since then, uh, they have had a hold on the American government. And it's not ever been the same. And I think that that has to be reconciled. So when I think of Robert Kennedy Jr., I said Robert Kennedy, didn't I? I meant JFK. Sorry, my brain. It's all the letters. It's too many letters. I meant JFK was assassinated. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated too. Of course, we know that.
Yes.
But I was talking about JFK on the road, and then also his father. His father.
Yeah.
So I feel like if he could be the head of the CIA, can they do that? Does it work like that? I'm sure
well,
Trump, if he becomes
that would
president, he
be
could make it.
justice served if he becomes the head of the CIA.
That's
You know
I
what
would
I
like to
mean?
see. I want him to take over the CIA and do whatever his dad and his uncle were saying they were going to do. Do it. Get rid of these agencies that have taken control. That's really what's going on here. Is you have bureaucrats and intelligence agencies who have all this information, which gives them a lot of power, and they've sort of taken over. Well, how interesting. And you know what? Now that I've listened to that again, because you have to understand, this is over a year ago. Amanda and I had that conversation. And RFK Jr. had just announced running, like that was all new. But we could see, and I think a lot of you too. It's not like it's just, oh, we knew. I think that we're feeling that this is a part of what needs to make it right. It's almost like God, like God's vengeance. Because I've gotten angry in my life about things, and I've felt vengeful, but I'm not very good at vengeance at all. I'm very forgiving. I forget. I'm kind of a doormat a little bit. But God reminded me that his vengeance is his, because he is just and because he knows the hearts of all men. We don't know. There's so much we don't know. So we might have our judgments and our ways that we look at things, and it's necessary to a degree to get through life. And I don't mean judgment by being a judgmental person. I mean just judging what's going on around you. And I still say it would be. Now, I know RFK Jr.'s thing is health and make America healthy again, and we need that. And my dad, I saw people in the comments who were saying, Dad prophesied about healings, about cures for things like Alzheimer's and autism and cancer and neurological diseases. And he saw that would happen. And so it seems to be that more and more of the pieces are falling into place. Actually, yes, go ahead and play The Irishman and the White House Prophecy. Lou has it. So that was the one I was just talking about on that clip from last year. So let's play that one. It's from July 27th of 2007.
And God said, it shall come to pass that I will take a man of Irish descent again and place him in the White House. This is years to come. But God said that John F. Kennedy, that once was to be great, but God said now another as a John F. Kennedy, but with uprightness, with morality, and with great strength of leadership. And they shall say, it is JFK reincarnated. And God said, I will laugh at your psychics. For the prophet spoke in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, long before it happened, that this shall be a sign to this nation. That what took place in the 60s and what was supposed to take place will take place in the teens of the 2000s, of 2015 and 2016.
So he gets the year, which was unusual. My dad didn't often name a year. Nailed it on the year. I see you guys talking about JFK Jr. could be alive. I don't know. You know how cool it would be if he was? I'm just all transparency right now. If JFK Jr. is alive somewhere, I probably would weep. I would probably cry. Because I grew up I was a teenager in the 90s, and I remember him. And I remember the plane crash, and I remember how devastating that was, how sad it was, because it was like his dad was assassinated, and then he started George Magazine, and then he was, he was doing something, and his life was just taken like that. And so if he is, alive somewhere, and I haven't been able to get anybody to give me an answer on that, and I know I've been on the Reawaken tour, and I've gone, and I, I've tried to be, I don't want to sound like a crazy person, but I do ask, and I just haven't been able to get an answer on that. And so, I think I think it's illegal to fake your own death. So if that did happen, I don't know what is the punishment for that? If you pretend to die and then you're not, what happens? I'm waiting for you guys to answer. It takes a second because there's a delay. Like, what happens if you fake your own death? Do you have to go to jail? Like, how bad is the punishment? I'm looking at your thing. Because in the prophecy, you heard him saying, you'll say it's JFK reincarnated, but I laugh at your psychics. And you'll remember that I prophesied this from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, years before, however he said it. And so I think the location of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is important with this prophecy, because why would he make that point? And he was there, but that was always part of the prophecies too. Is like, where was he? Like, he prophesied Trump would have 2 terms from Maricopa County. Of all the counties, of all the places in the United States of America, he could have prophesied that from. He prophesied it from the place that had the worst integrity problems with elections. And we've seen that again and again. And the same goes for the 9/11 prophecy. 1996, he prophesied 9/11 from where? Dearborn, Michigan. Tell me about Dearborn, Michigan right now, guys. What's the thing about Dearborn? Anybody know? Well, then I'll tell you. It is one of the worst places for Islam and Islamists. So I'm not talking about just like integrated people who happen to be Muslim in America who aren't causing any trouble. I'm talking about the Islamists, like the nutty ones. I'm looking to see if he could get into trouble. Someone said witness protection program, which I don't know. I will say though that and you guys saw this when I had Gene Ho on, because there's the whole rumor about Gene going in the and I have never gotten an answer on this either, you guys, about him going in the helicopter with Don Jr. and Eric and supposedly JFK Jr. And then Gene took a picture of JFK Jr. at Mount Rushmore, like standing on top. I don't know if that's true. I heard the rumor just like the rest of you. I've seen the videos, but I've never gotten a clear answer out of even Gene. I saw Gene just recently because I spoke at the George Magazine. You guys know I spoke at the George Magazine event, but I still have no answer to that, and I'm being honest. Like, I don't know, and I think that, look, whatever it is, they all know I have a big mouth. Like, ask General Flynn, he knows. Ask Clay Clark. They've all spent time with me. I have a big mouth. My dad used to say that about me, and when my dad used to say it about me, I didn't realize. Excuse me. I didn't realize what he meant, and I thought he meant my actual mouth was big. And I used to go in front of the mirror in the bathroom and open my mouth up as wide as I could and be like, "Is my mouth bigger than other people's mouths?" I was just so innocent. And my dad never knew. I told him once I'd grown up, I talked to him about it, and he laughed and laughed. He said, "No, Donna, it's just because you talk so much." And so I think because of that, like, whatever secrets are out there, I think I'm not going to be the person they're going to trust with any kind of secret like that, especially if he could get into trouble. And I'm seeing you guys answering me about the Muslims in Dearborn. Okay, so the point I was making about that, though, is that it is from wherever the problem is the worst, God sends the prophet to prophesy from that place. So that is like spiritual warfare. And because it was prophetic in nature, he was going beforehand, seeing what would happen there and praying against it then for now. And so that's, kind of the way it works. But I just found it so, the whole thing is so interesting. And the Kennedy thing is interesting because regardless of the individual Kennedys and whatever flaws they may have in their policies or their lives, we all have those. Someone's talking about Martha's Vineyard. No, that's not what. So I thought that's what Amanda said, but she didn't. Where was Amanda saying? I've only just found that again today, so I need to go over that. What her dream. I need to have her on is what I need to do, and have her talk about that again. And now that I've sent it to her, I'm sure she's going to air that again because she was looking for it and I couldn't find it. So I'm sure she's going to. So just keep an eye on what Amanda's doing because she's going to talk about it too. And I really think so. So anyone else think the Pope is sold out? Yes. I was looking at stuff about the popes and the Orsini family. Do I have it in my Twitter? Wait, let me go to my Twitter. I keep calling it Twitter. It is not Twitter. Oh, here's RFK Jr. Lou, can you share my Twitter page again? Because he's talking about Ukraine here. And here's the other thing. Dad prophesied about Ukraine. A lot about Ukraine. And went to Ukraine in 2014. I'm just trying to see if... okay, it is there. Okay, here we go. Let me just start it over.
This is a war that should have never happened. It's a war that Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very beneficial to Ukraine and us. The major thing they wanted was for us to keep NATO out of the Ukraine. The big military contractors want to add new countries to NATO all the time. Why? Because then that country has to conform its military purchases to NATO weapon specifications, which means certain companies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, get a trapped market. In March of 2022, we committed $113 billion. Just to give you an example, we could have built a home for almost every homeless person in this country. We then committed another $24 billion since then, 2 months ago, and now President Biden is asking for another $60 billion. But the big expenses are going to come after the war, when we have to rebuild all the things that we destroyed. Mitch McConnell was asked, can we really afford to spend $113 billion to Ukraine? He said, don't worry. It's not really going to Ukraine.
It's going to American defense manufacturers.
So he just admitted it's a money laundering scheme. And who do you think owns every one of those companies? BlackRock. So Tim Scott, during the Republican debate, said, don't worry, it's not a gift to Ukraine, it's a loan. So raise your hand if you think that loan's ever getting paid back. Yeah, of course it's not. So why do they call it a loan? Because if they call it a loan, they can impose loan conditions. And what are the loan conditions that we impose on? Number one, an extreme austerity program, so that if you're poor in Ukraine, you're going to be poor forever. Number two, most important, Ukraine has to put all of its government-owned assets up for sale to multinational corporations, including all of its agricultural land, the biggest single asset in Europe. In Ukraine, there's been 1,000 years of war fought over that land. It's the richest farmland in the world. It's the breadbasket of Europe. 500,000 kids almost, Ukrainian kids, have died to keep that land as part of Ukraine. They almost certainly didn't know about this loan condition. They've already sold 30% of it. The buyers were DuPont, Cargill, and Monsanto. Who do you think owns all of those companies?
BlackRock.
Yeah, BlackRock. And then in December, President Biden gave out the contract to rebuild Ukraine. And who do you think got that contract? BlackRock. So they're doing this right in front of us. They don't even care that we know anymore, because they know that they can get away with it. And how do they know that? Because they have a strategy. And that strategy is an old strategy, which is they keep us at war with each other. They keep us hating on each other. They keep the Republicans and Democrats fighting each other, and black against white, and all these divisions that they sow.
Wow. Wow. I just listened to what he said again. And the gravity of it is immense. The gravity of the moment that we are in right now is immense. Because just like he said, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. And it's all going back to BlackRock, BlackRock, BlackRock. And this is coming from the party who was like so anti-corporation, has now changed to where they're hand in hand with the corporations and big tech. So you see why it was so important for my dad to see Ukraine. Because Ukraine and what is happening there has been central to everything that's been going on. And that is why the impeachments, which Dad also prophesied, they'll say impeach, impeach. They'll say impeach, impeach. He saw that they would say impeach, impeach twice. What happened when Trump picked up the phone and called Zelensky? What happened? They impeached him. That whistleblower. That court cases all over the news. Trump bad, quid pro quo, when they have on video Joe Biden admitting to quid pro quo with them, saying you're not going to get the billions of dollars unless you fire the prosecutors that's going after my son. It's on video, and they're not hiding it. So yes, we need God, because like little me, I can sit here and talk to you guys, and you guys can do the same, and we can tell each other, but we need more than that. And God is putting together a dream team. And I don't care what these people's sins are, okay? Because we all have sins, every single one of us. None of us are perfect, okay? Donald Trump, he's got a potty mouth, and he cheated on his wives. And so did RFK Jr. And RFK Jr. may or may not have sold cocaine in college. It's like, that's what the devil does. The devil goes back into your past and reminds you of your sins over and over and over again. That's what the devil does. When you go to God and you ask him for forgiveness, he forgets. I remember my dad doing a whole teaching on this, about how when you truly repent for something and you go and you ask him for forgiveness, he forgets. God forgets. It's gone. And you start anew. And repent actually means to get back up to the top. When you're at the bottom, you get back up to the top. Because we're all going to do that. We are all going to sin. We are all going to fail again and again. And the thing is that that's all the devil wants us to know. He doesn't want us to know or remember or realize that we are created in God's image, and that each and every one of us are powerful, powerful creations in God's image, which the devil's not. The devil wasn't created in God's image. We were. And that means we can create. And we're given complete freedom. And again, there's consequences for our choices, but we're given complete freedom. God put us on the earth with everything that's here, and we can just go. Cain killed Abel. God gave the choice. But the consequences of Cain killing Abel echoes today. Thousands of years later, the echo of that act is still there. The blood of Abel cries out. That is what we are seeing happen, and it is culminating in the most unexpected way, and it is shocking. And what the devil wants is for us to be divided and hating each other and arguing with each other, just like RFK Jr. just told you. That's the devil's strategy. Unity, especially in Christ, is unstoppable for the devil, and he knows it, so he's terrified. So what we're seeing happen is the scramble of something that is dying. And I'm not talking about individual human beings. I'm talking about the thing that is controlling them has now been cornered, especially because we all see. So just like I said over a year ago with Amanda Grace, they want civil war, but we don't want it. Right. That's why it hasn't happened. Because we don't want it. Because we know no matter what color our skin is or what our gender is or what our religion is, we are Americans. We are Americans. That's who we are. And they don't want us to think that because of how powerful America is under that unity, under God. Under God, united, we're unstoppable. And we always have been. And the enemy infiltrated from within using intelligence agencies, using the compassion of people's hearts to say, oh, but these poor people. And it's not to say that we shouldn't be compassionate, but we should also be wise. We should also not be foolish. We should also not leave our door wide open and not check who's coming into our house, especially when we have children. Like, I'm just imagining, like, the way the borders open. I'm imagining my house, and I have 2 small children, and I have kittens, and I have all kinds of stuff in there. If I just leave that door open and I don't check who's coming in, something could happen to them, and they're innocent. And we are responsible to care for the innocent, for the children who are under more attack now than ever before. They are being ripped from the wombs of their mothers by the choices of their own mothers who have been deceived. It is unacceptable what is happening. It is unacceptable what is happening. You just look around at what has happened to the young people who are being mutilated at an age when they can't know. They can't know, oh, I should have been a boy or I should have been a girl, and you're like 12. Look, I was a bit of a tomboy growing up. I was climbing trees. I didn't want to wear makeup. I didn't want to dress up. I do now because I grew up. And people are different. And they're using that as an excuse, like, oh, this poor person is trapped in the wrong body and we've got to help them. And it's like, you're not helping anything. You're destroying an entire society. You're destroying an entire generation that God has an intent to use for good. And so I am very compassionate to that situation as far as to the people who are victims of it, because another thing that's happening is sterilization. Then they're not reproducing. And that is another thing that what have we seen? Look in the Bible. What happened with Moses? They were killing all the firstborns. Moses survived because his mom put him in the basket. And it was the Egyptian royalty who found him. How beautiful is that story? Anyway, and then, of course, Jesus. So it tells us the gravity of the situation here, how important the time that we are in right now is because of the slaughter and the mutilation of the youth, of the innocents. That is so typical of the devil. And again, he can't create. We're created in God's image. We create. The devil can't create. He can only imitate and mutilate and distort. And that is what we're seeing. And the problem is at the top, because it does matter who we choose as our leaders. I mean, I remember growing up thinking, oh, it doesn't matter who the president is. He's just a puppet. And it was sort of I was a teenager, and I just didn't think too deeply about it. But now it makes a huge difference who your leader is. Huge. Especially in America, it affects the whole world. It affects the whole world, what happens in America. And that is undeniable. And so, yeah, you're talking about China restricting the number of children born. I actually have something to tell you about that before I leave today. So under the one-child law, that's what you're talking about. They've stopped that now because they're having trouble with their population in China because there's like no girls. It's all boys over there. And their population is struggling because of it. Even though they have like so many people there, that's not going to last. And what happened during that time was my dad had prophesied the earthquake in Japan in 2011. Now, my dad didn't prophesy a lot of earthquakes because earthquakes are easy to prophesy. And I'm not putting down anyone who's prophesying earthquakes. It's important if God's showing someone something. The point is, Dad didn't often prophesy about earthquakes, but he did about this one. He said they kept predicting an earthquake for America, but that it was going to happen in Japan, and sure enough, it did. And when that earthquake, it was 2011, when that earthquake in Japan happened, my mother was watching what was going on over there, and she was seeing how many children had lost their parents in Japan because of the earthquake and the tsunami and the whole thing. And she was freaking out because she was thinking, all these children have lost their parents. And my mom being just the ultimate mom. And so she was like, Kim, we've got to help. We've got to help. And they started looking into adopting children or helping with that, and ended up finding out that Japan does not allow adoptions outside of Japan. So some countries do allow people from other countries to adopt their orphans. Some countries do not. Japan does not. But China does. And so through the course of looking into all of this, my mom found out and got connected with Amy Aldrich and Love Without Boundaries. Now, what they were doing was they were over there in China helping all the orphans, because so many children were being abandoned because China had made a one-child law. And what would happen over there is, number one, they'd want a son because of the carrying on of the name, and also a healthy child. So what would happen is a lot of girls were abandoned. And if the child had any kind of illness or sickness, they were abandoned because a lot of them, I mean, a lot of the people in China that didn't have the resources to care for, especially if you only have one child and your one child is sick. So a lot of children were abandoned, and the orphanages were just full of them. And so my mom and dad and our ministry got connected with Amy. She started, she's a great friend of my mom's even to this day. And they started working together. And what they started to do was they would find the orphans that needed surgeries. So some children are born with a heart condition, for instance, and they need surgery right away. But these children weren't getting their surgeries, any surgeries. They were just, abandoned and put in an orphanage. And so what my parents and the ministry was doing was raising funds to pay for those children to get surgeries. And what they found was, first of all, the Chinese government was very difficult to deal with. And so what they were doing was they would get someone to travel with the child, with the orphan, and they were going to bring them to America. But because it costs so much money here, they actually ended up hooking up with, in Israel, the Wolfson Medical Center, and Save a Child's Heart. And they were doing the surgeries for these orphans for a fraction of the price. And it included flying them there, giving them a place to stay, and the person who was with them having the surgery, going through recovery, and then sending them back. And so through the process of all that, mom and dad would get the word out to everybody who watched, because so many people were watching my dad, that they could adopt these children, if they qualified, or if they wanted a child, and maybe you couldn't have a child and you wanted to adopt. These children are sitting here in need. And they were able, my parents and this ministry and all of you who donated towards that and helped towards that, helped hundreds and hundreds of Chinese children. Hundreds of Chinese lives were saved. And it was so prophetic that it would be from China, considering what we see now happening with China and Russia and Iran and North Korea and the BRICS and the whole thing. And of course, China doesn't have the one-child law anymore because it turned out didn't work out so well for them. But that's what happened as a result of that. And actually, speaking of that, I have 5 adopted brothers and sisters from China. And one of them is Matt Yong. A lot of you remember Matt Yong. Some of you may not. Matt is now 16 years old. He was 6 when my parents adopted him, 5 or 6. I can't remember now. And he was actually abandoned when he was a little bit older, but he has a genetic defect where it's kind of like what the elephant man had, but it's only in one part of his face. So the cells, and it's not cancer, it's a genetic disorder. So the cells keep regenerating. So the one side of his face is considerably larger than the other. And also there's issues that have happened in his jaw, for instance, where the way his jaw grew is distorted because of that mass on his face. And then also he had to have a trach for as long as since my parents adopted him. He had to have a trach because it would close his airway as well. And so, that has not been an easy thing, especially since we lost my dad. And Matt just had another surgery. And this is a good thing because they were waiting for Matt to sort of grow to maturity to try to restructure some things in his face. And so they did a surgery this past Monday where they actually had to cut his whole face open and shave away bone under his eye because it's growing up and he could lose his vision in that eye if they don't do something. And so they had to do surgery on him just this Monday. And so please pray for Matt. He's doing much better. He's home now from the hospital, but mom was with him all week, staying at the hospital. She's still doing this. And so those of you who used to watch back when dad was alive and you remember mom would come up and give reports on all the children, all of the children are still doing very well, but they still need surgeries and things. Mia has pulmonary hypertension that is incurable because she got her heart surgery too late. My parents adopted her when she was 2, and she was supposed to have had that surgery at birth. And so, of course, when they adopted her, they gave her the surgery immediately. My mom and dad made sure she got that surgery right away, but it was too late to stop the pulmonary hypertension. And so she has a permanent PICC line, which is like kind of like a portable IV that gives her medication all day, every day. But if she exerts herself too much, she doesn't get enough oxygen. She can faint, she can pass out. So it's really, that's the situation we are still in at home. So you guys don't see a lot of it, because the kids are growing up now and they don't always, now that they're older, they don't want to be on camera like they did, when they were little. Mom and dad used to put them on, but they've grown up now. So we let them choose when they want to come on. I know you guys have seen little Shoo Shoo on. She loves to be star of the show. What is it, Lou? Lou has entered.
Oh, no, you can continue talking. I just have a little...
No, go ahead. I was just letting them know about Matt.
Well, somebody on the HOD chat, I'm not sure, I think it was Glenn, he mentioned about JD Vance being Irish. And so I looked it up, and the BBC said in his book, Mr. Vance accounts how his grandparents moved from the Appalachian Hills of eastern Kentucky in hope of escaping the dreadful poverty around them. The Appalachian region is where many Ulster Scots settled after the Ulster plantation. Vance said, "To understand me, you must understand that I am a Scots-Irish hillbilly at heart," he confesses in his autobiography.
Oh, interesting.
So that's just a little nugget.
Oh, that is. Thank you. Who was it? Glenn. I see you there, Glenn. He's trying to hear Alex Jones and me at the same time. What's Alex Jones doing right now? I want to hear. I love Alex Jones. I've been following Alex Jones since Bohemian Grove days, which, by the way, the more I see of Bohemian Grove, I know this is way off topic, but I'm just going to say it. What are they doing at Bohemian Grove? It's stupid. Like, there's nothing cool about that. There's nothing mysterious. Remember, like, it was like, oh, what are they doing at Bohemian Grove? The rituals. And it was like a scary thing, It's like,
yes, you played that clip on your X account.
Did I?
I think you played it and you said, what are they doing in there?
What are they doing? It's
they have
so
all the robes,
stupid.
and then they're eating breakfast in the morning by these wooden tables.
And then everybody
at night,
goes
it's like
camping.
they go camping. Then they're walking with robes, with fire.
Pretending.
And they have like a concert at night. And they're supposed to be all these wealthy people.
Who was it? Kid Rock said he got invited once. I saw him in an interview. And he was describing, like, they have these little cabins, which I've seen video footage of people breaking in to Bohemian Grove. And they do have these, like, little cabins. And Kid Rock said that you had to, like, have a roommate. And, like, whoever his roommate was, they got drunk and got into a physical altercation. And Kid Rock was not allowed to attend the concert that night. So it's like, there's no more mystery anymore when it comes to that kind of thing. It's not even cool. It's stupid.
What?
And I've even texted Roger Stone because I saw a picture of Nixon and Reagan at Bohemian Grove at these events. And I said to him, what are they doing? And Roger said, well, it was kind of like, I don't remember his answer. It was like kind of vague. Like, it was just one of those things I kind of had to do. And it's like, why? Why?
What?
Why do you have to go worship some stupid owl statue and put on robes and pretend? You are grown men. You're world leaders.
They're
Why are
wealthy
you
grown
pretending
men.
in the woods?
Because they're bored. They've got so much money.
They're worshiping Moloch.
No,
They're
of course.
Moloch
But you know what comes to my mind when you're saying that? It's like the DNC, where they had the DJ playing all the time, and they're all like, whoa, whoa, and they're having this huge concert. And then you will look at the RNC, and it was so like put together and everything. But then you look at the DNC, and then I'm thinking, now you're talking about, I'm like, Yeah, and they're having a concert in the middle. It's like they're doing the same thing and murdering children outside
I
the
know,
DNC.
you
I mean,
guys
come on.
outside the DNC, them
Anyway, I
having.
better-
I'm seeing my Scots Irish friends here. Listen, I don't have the Irish, but I do have the Scottish. I am on my mom's side. Her dad, Clan Fraser, was our clan, and we are Scottish. That's where my Scottish connection is. And you know what's so interesting is now I'm going to get into conspiracy theories, so maybe it's the end of the show. Maybe I shouldn't go there. But there is okay. Why is Scotland named Scotland? Does anyone know? I'm going to wait for a second. Do you guys know why Scotland is called that? I'm waiting. Baal worship. You guys are right. It is Baal worship. And I'm just saying, like people who like if you know, like you believe in God and the devil, and then you're a Baal worshiper, you're extremely stupid. You've like obviously picked the wrong side. And I think a lot of people are tricked and blackmailed. I think a lot of that has gone on. But it really, really is just so stupid. Okay, so I haven't seen anyone answer me on why Scotland is named that. Okay, so the story goes that Scotland is named after an Egyptian queen named Queen Scota. Scota. And if I'm wrong, you guys can correct me, but I've seen quite a bit of information on this. And that she went over with like a fleet of armies and militaries, whatever it was then, and all of her ships and her supplies and people, and they ended up settling there. And our Scott. Am I back? Am I back? It says end stream. Okay, I'm back. There's a storm here, you guys. That's what I think is going on. Like, remember I said I heard thunder a little while ago? There is a storm. So that's probably why, because we don't use Wi-Fi for this show. We are hardwired in with an Ethernet cord. So definitely that's probably something to do with the storm outside. But I'm out of time anyway. And you know what? I came in here today just not sure, not 100% sure what I wanted to talk about. And I've had such a good time with you guys. And a lot of you did. I saw some of you knew Scota. And why Scotland was named that, and I think that's true. I'm not 100%. I think it's true. So anyway, I did get a chance to tell you about my adopted brothers and sisters, and I'm glad I did, because we do covet your prayers for them, for my brothers and sisters, and also for my mom, because since Dad died, her and Dad adopted the children together. Like, that was something they did together. It was a decision they made. They knew they were over 50, and so they were getting a little older, but God really dealt with my dad. He went out to his prayer garden, and my mom was wanting to adopt children, and he went out and prayed and asked God, should we do this? And all of a sudden, 2 hummingbirds suddenly were just in front of my dad's face, just hovering there. And he took that as the answer of yes, because it was for 2 little girls, Shelly Ann and Mia, that my mom wanted to adopt. And that was the beginning of my parents adopting. And now I am the oldest of 10 kids because of my 5 adopted brothers and sisters. 2 of them, Kimby and Shushu, are at my house because I had a sleepover with my daughter who's the same age as them. So that's all worked out really well. But, without dad, it's been hard because that is a forever commitment that they made. And, mom, that was the one thing mom was afraid of, was if something happened to dad, she'd be left alone. And, but she is doing amazing, and she is a great mom. And we have come together as a family, and we are taking care of them, and they're all healthy, awesome, amazing kids. And, we are just so happy and blessed to have them in our lives. And I am to have them as my brothers and sisters. And I'm so glad my parents did this, and that God directed them that way. And so, do pray for Matt, though. He's still in pain. He's they did have to cut his whole face open to do that, and so there's a lot of pain he's having to deal with. He handles it so well, though. He's got a very high pain tolerance. All he's taken is like Tylenol and Advil. That's it. And so, yes, my mom is a strong woman. Let me tell you something. You have to be to have dealt with my dad. My mom and dad are both amazing human beings, anointed, and I just feel so honored to be their kid and to be able to share with you guys every week like this and hang out with you guys. And so, before I go, though, if you want to support our ministry, we do need support. This is something I never, I'm just the kind of person, I just go, 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 and I don't even think about money. It's just, but we do actually need some to keep the lights on and just to keep the ball rolling over here on our end. And so if anybody feels led to support the ministry, you can text, if you look below, if you text Code Breakers with the amount to 43965, that's the easiest way to do it. But you can go to the website as well. And if you want, you can go to the website and you can get this for a donation of any amount. It's called The Daily Light. And I know I tell you guys this every week, but you never know who's new. So it's a 31-day devotional, everything written by my dad. It is so inspiring and awesome. And for a donation of absolutely any amount, if you donate 50 cents, we're going to give this to you. We're going to send it to you. But you have to go to the website to do that, because we have to know that you want it, because we have a lot of regular donators and they already have it, and so they don't want to just keep getting it. So you can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen. If you don't like QR codes, go to kimclement.com and you'll find it over there, and then just make sure you click the banner, and then we'll know to send this to you. The other one is Prophetic Revelations, and this is our new release this year, a collection of letters from the pen of Kim Clement. I love this. My dad was such a good writer, and this has helped me so much. And so for $25 or more, because it's our new release, we'll send you this one. But make sure you use the QR code or go to the website and click the banner when you give your offering, and we'll send it to you. And what else? Oh, partnership. Can you pull that up? I am so excited about this, you guys. We haven't had, we have our partner programs that my dad, had set up, and we left them going just the way they were for years because it worked. But as time has passed, we realized we really needed to do something about our partners and the people who partner with us. And, it's sort of, if you're on social media, it's the equivalent of a subscription. So if you partner with us, we are launching, and it's going to be happening soon, like September sometime. It's going to be there on the website and ready for you. And we have the prophecy database. I've turned it into the vault. And we've changed a whole bunch of stuff. And it's going to be so much better when you go into the database. You can do keyword searches. And my dad said that word. All the prophecies are transcribed. You can go read it. That's already there. But what we've done now is we've added where you can read the transcript, but there's also video and then the link to the original broadcast. So you can see in context what was prophesied and what was going on that day. You can watch the whole thing because they're 2-hour broadcasts, most of them, sometimes longer. And so if we're looking at one prophecy, obviously we're going to edit out just what he prophesied. But some people want to watch the whole thing. And so all of that's going to be there available to you. Also, I am doing a blog We have got extra footage. And a lot of it we've already filmed. Some of it we will be filming. And there's going to be so much extra stuff for you if you partner with the ministry, and that's coming soon, the Prophecy Vault. And I am so excited. This is something I've dreamed of for a long time. I really wanted it to be really cool and awesome for you. And so if you do end up partnering with us, you are actually a part of the legacy of Kim Clement, and that's what I want it to be. So if you are giving regularly to the ministry, you are supporting us, not only collecting this and organizing it, but it'll be something that we have in history that we can look back on forever and ever. So once all the prophecies are fulfilled, and there's a lot that haven't been yet, but not that many anymore. And eventually that's going to end. And we want to have something that is the final thing, so that we can say to our children and our grandchildren, we were there when Kim Clement prophesied. We were alive when he prophesied and then watched the fulfillment of. And, so to be a part of that it's just, I don't know. I'm so excited about it. I just can't wait to actually launch it. We're almost there. So keep your eye open for that. Please do. And the other thing is, we are going on the Reawaken America tour in October, North Carolina. It is going to be the last one. And we are going like all out for this one. Like, we've got our whole team, the whole House of Destiny team is going. Christy and I are going to be there doing interviews. We're super, super excited about it. And we will have a lot more information for everybody by that time, because we would have launched it by then, and we'll have stuff. I don't know what we're going to do with t-shirts, mugs. I don't know yet. But we're going to have stuff, and you'll be able to join this unusual group of people who understand the prophetic very deeply. And so yes. And let me just check the comments one more time before I go, because I do have to go. Mom and I are about to have a little chat with Clay Clark. He's going to interview us. So I actually need to go. But I love all of you. Thank you so much for joining me today. It ended up being a really good time together. And I will see you next week. I don't have an announcement on a guest yet, but I'm working on it, because General Flynn will be coming on with me very soon. I don't know if it's this week or next week, but just follow my X page. If you don't use X, we do also share on all the other social media platforms. Make sure you're watching YouTube. Make sure you're watching Rumble if you don't use YouTube. Just follow all of our socials wherever you are, and you will be informed about what's going on. So I will see you next week. Thank you for joining me.
To announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.
Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you. And then by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.